It was a cold and quiet morning in Windmere, a small village with old stone houses, narrow streets, and friendly people. The village was still trying to recover after a terrible flood had damaged homes, schools, and the town hall. Mud still covered. Parts of the street and many buildings were wet and broken. People were working hard to clean up, but their hearts were tired, Mrs. Clara Jenkins. The village baker opened her shop early like she did every morning. She placed fresh loaves of bread in the window and wiped her hands on her apron. As she stepped outside to shake the crumbs off her cloth, she saw something strange along. Black car driving slowly down the main road. It was shiny and clean, with dark windows and an unfamiliar license plate. No one in Windmere drove a car like that. That's odd, she whispered to herself. Behind the first car came another, just like it. Then a third. Mrs. Jenkins stood still, watching. The cars moved slowly, like they were looking for something. One of the drivers wore dark sunglasses, even though the sky was cloudy. He seemed to be studying the buildings carefully. Soon, two men in black suits stepped out of the last car. They were holding small devices in their hands and looking around, pointing at buildings and corners. They didn't smile. They didn't talk to anyone. Mrs. Jenkins called across the street to Mr. Thomas Reed, the postman. "Thomas, do you see what I see?" Mr. Reed nodded. "Yes, Clara. I've seen people like that once before. It was many years ago when a royal family member visited a town near here. They always send a team first." Clara's eyes grew wide. "You mean someone royal might be coming to Windmere?" Before Thomas could answer, one of the men in black suits walked up to them. "Good morning," he said in a calm but firm voice. "We're part of a security team. Kindly ask you to keep today's observations private. You may have a special visitor soon. That's all we can say." Then he walked away quickly, already talking into a small earpiece. Clara and Thomas stood in silence. Their eyes met, both filled with surprise. Soon the news began to spread, as it always did in small villages. Mrs. Jenkins told her sister, who told her friend at the flower shop, who told the grocer. Children overheard adults whispering and carried the news to school. By lunchtime, half of Windmere was talking about it. "Prince William is coming," someone said. "No, it's Princess Catherine." "They're both coming," a child shouted. "I heard it from my uncle who works at the petrol station." At the village primary school, the teachers tried to keep the children calm, but it was no use. Whispers filled the classroom. Children pressed their faces against the windows, trying to catch a glimpse of more black cars or important-looking people. 8-year-old Lily held her notebook close. She had drawn a picture of the royal family last year during art class. She had always wanted to meet them. "Do you think they'll come to our school?" she asked her teacher. Mrs. Weston smiled kindly, though she was just as curious. "Maybe, Lily. We'll find out soon enough." Near the center of the village, 84-year-old Mr. Alfred Grant sat on his porch with a cup of tea. He had lived in Windmere his entire life and had only seen a royal person once, when he was a young man during a military parade. He watched the quiet activity around the old town hall with interest. People were setting up small barriers. A group of local police had arrived and were speaking to men in suits. Others were checking rooftops and measuring distances. It all looked very serious. "It's real," Mr. Grant whispered. "They're really coming." Back inside the bakery, Clara Jenkins placed a fresh tray of jam tarts in the display. She couldn't stop thinking about what the man had said, a special visitor. Her hands shook just a little. Down the street, 11-year-old Ben Parker stood on a crate near his father's hardware shop, trying to see over the crowd that was slowly forming. "Dad," he asked, "why would royals come here?" His father answered without looking away from the street, "Because they care, son. They read what happened here. They saw how we lost our town hall, our school library, our sports field. Maybe they want to see it for themselves." Ben thought about that. "So, they're not coming for a big speech?" His father shook his head. "No. They're coming because sometimes even royals want to show they understand." As the afternoon sun peeked through the clouds, the air in Windmere changed. People who had been feeling broken and tired were now full of energy and questions. They didn't know exactly what would happen, but they felt something important was coming, and even though no royal car had officially arrived yet, hearts were already starting to beat faster. Windows opened. People stood outside. The village felt alive in a way it hadn't in days. The royal visit hadn't even begun, but already Windmere was holding its breath. The village of Windmere had never felt like this before. Something was happening. People could feel it in the air. There was a strange, quiet energy moving through the streets. It wasn't fear. It wasn't worry. It was something else. It was curiosity. It started with the cars. Big black cars that no one had ever seen in Windmere before. They moved slowly through the narrow roads. Their windows were dark. No one could see who was inside. Then came the men in suits. They wore small earpieces and walked quickly. They didn't stop to talk. They looked at buildings, corners, and open spaces. They spoke quietly into radios. Mrs. Jenkins watched from her bakery window. "That's not normal," she whispered to herself. "Something big is going on." At the small flower shop down the street, Mr. Dalton leaned against his doorframe. "Watching the same thing? That's royal security," he said to his wife, who stood beside him, holding a tray of roses. "I've seen them on the news. This is not a normal visit." His wife gasped. "You think it's Prince William? And Princess Kate?" "I don't know," he replied, eyes still following the men in suits. "But something important is about to happen." Soon, the village was buzzing. Word spread fast. The grocer's assistant told a customer, who told the postman, who told the schoolteacher. Within an hour, half the village was talking about it. Whispers filled the air like birds flying from tree to tree. "Is it the Queen?" "No, too many cars." "Maybe it's the Prince and Princess. I heard they're coming because of the flood. Someone said they're visiting the school." Children at Windmere Primary could barely sit still. Clara, a quiet girl with big brown eyes, sat by the window and stared at the road. She held her sketchbook in her lap, though she hadn't drawn anything that morning. "I think I saw one of their cars," said her friend Ellie, jumping up. "Sit down, girls." "Yes," said Mrs. Weston gently. Though even she looked toward the window with interest, Clara whispered. "Why would they come here?" "To help," Ellie said. "Flood and how the school library got ruined?" Clara looked down at her drawing of the library. "It was half finished and a little wet. That would be kind," she said softly. Across the street, old Mr. Alcott stood with his grandson Ben. Mr. Alcott had lived in Windmere his whole life. He had helped build the stone bridge that now lay broken from the flood. He leaned on his cane, staring at the road. Ben asked, "Grandpa, are they really coming?" "I don't know, lad," Mr. Alcott said. "But look at those people. They don't come unless something serious is about to happen." Ben looked excited. "Do you think we'll see them, like up close?" Mr. Alcott smiled faintly. "Maybe. Royal people don't come just to wave. They come here, it's for a reason." The village center was now full of quiet movement. Barriers were being set up around the damaged town hall. Police officers stood at corners. The mayor looked more nervous than usual as he walked quickly from building to building talking into his phone. Then around noon, the moment arrived. 3 black cars pulled into the main square. People stood still. Children stopped talking. Even the wind seemed to pause. From the second car, Prince William stepped out. He looked calm and kind, his eyes full of care. Behind him came Princess Catherine, dressed simply in a navy coat, her hair tied back neatly. She smiled gently, looking around with soft eyes. People didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They simply stood still, watching, holding their breath. William nodded at the small crowd and walked toward the school first. Catherine followed, waving softly to the people near the entrance. Nobody moved. It was as if the whole village was frozen. Clara saw them first through the school window. "It's them," she said quietly. "It's really them." Children pressed their faces to the glass. Teachers tried to keep them calm, but even the teachers looked amazed. Mrs. Weston stood up straighter. Her hands were shaking. Prince William entered the school hallway and smiled at the staff. "We heard about the flood," he said kindly. "We wanted to come, to show we care, and to see how the children are doing." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know why. She just felt something big, something warm. Princess Catherine knelt down beside her and gently touched her sketchbook. "Did you draw this?" Clara nodded, too shy to speak. "It's beautiful," Catherine said. "Even though the flood took some things, it didn't take this. It didn't take your gift." Clara smiled. Outside, the villagers watched as the royal couple moved from the school to the broken town hall. They stopped to speak to everyone they could. They listened. They asked questions. They looked people in the eye. No speeches, no cameras, just presence. For the first time in days, people smiled again. Not because their homes were fixed, not because everything was better, but because someone important had come. Someone who could have gone anywhere but chose to come to them. And in that moment, all of Windmere felt seen. The wind was soft that afternoon. Leaves danced gently in the air as the small village of Windmere waited. Everyone stood in silence, mothers holding their children's hands. Grandfathers leaning on their walking sticks, students peeking out. From school windows, then, the black car turned the corner. Prince William and Princess Catherine had arrived. People did not cheer or clap. Instead, they simply watched, frozen with emotion. It felt like the air itself had paused. Nothing moved except the slow, steady steps of the royal couple. Prince William looked around quietly, saw the damaged school wall, the broken street, signs, and the old town hall standing in ruins. His eyes stopped on the children standing near the school gates. He smiled gently and walked over. One boy stepped forward. His name was Jamie. He was 10 years old. Wearing muddy shoes and holding a small drawing in his hand, William crouched down. "Hello there. What's your name, Jamie?" the boy said shyly. "I drew this yesterday. It's the town hall." Before the flood, William took the paper carefully, as if it were made of glass. "It's beautiful, Jamie. Thank you for sharing this." The prince's voice was warm, but his eyes looked sad. He turned to Catherine, who was speaking softly to a group of elderly women nearby. One of them was holding a photo of the town's Christmas party from last year. The building behind them in the picture no longer existed. Catherine reached out and gently touched the woman's hand. "This looks like a very happy day," she said. "It was," the woman replied, her voice shaking. "We never thought it would be our last one there." Catherine nodded slowly. "I understand. Some places are more than just buildings. They are hearts of communities." Nearby, a young girl named Clara stood with her teacher. Clara had been quiet for days after the flood. She had lost her sketchbook and hadn't spoken much, but now she watched the princess closely. Something in Catherine's face felt kind. Safe Clara slowly stepped forward. Catherine noticed her and bent down. "Lo, what's your name?" "Clara," the girl whispered. "Would you like to show me something?" Catherine asked. Clara nodded. She opened her small bag and took out a damp piece of paper. It was a faded drawing of the village school, the yellow flowers in front. "I tried to draw it again," Clara said. "It's lovely," Catherine replied. "Do you want to help us imagine what it could look like when it's fixed?" Clara's eyes lit up. For the first time in days, she smiled. Prince William stood back and watched. He felt something heavy in his chest, but it wasn't sadness. It was the weight of care, of wanting to do something real, not just symbolic. He had been to many places before, shaken many hands, given many speeches. But today felt different. Today felt personal. William walked toward the old man standing quietly by the fence. It was Mr. Alcott, who had built the bridge that now lay. "Broken, you must be Mr. Alcott," William said gently. The old man nodded. "I helped build half this village once. Now look at it." William looked at the fallen beams, then back at the man. "Then maybe you'll help build it again. With us." Mr. Alcott blinked slowly. No one had asked him that in years. William smiled. "We're not just here to visit. We're here to stand with you." A hush fell again as both William and Catherine walked slowly to the center of the square. Catherine placed a white rose near the ruins of the hall. William stood beside her and looked out at the people. "I know this village has lost something special," he said. "But I see something just as special in all of you. We'll do everything we can to help bring it back." The village did not move. No one even breathed for a moment. It was a moment of stillness, a moment of memory, a moment they would never forget. Prince William stood near the ruins of the Windmere town hall, his eyes scanning the blackened bricks and broken windows. The air still smelled faintly of wet wood and mud. He had seen many disasters before: floods, fires, pain, but today felt different. Catherine stood quietly beside him. Her coat was damp at the bottom from the muddy ground, but she didn't care. She looked up at the collapsed roof, and then at the children watching from behind a school window. Her hand tightened gently around William's arm. They both felt that this moment was not just a visit. It was something more, something deeper. "I keep wondering," William said softly, "what this place looked like before the flood." "Think it looked like hope," Catherine replied. They had heard stories all morning: an old man who built the bridge with his hands, a little girl whose drawings got washed away, a mother who had no home left, but still gave her son a smile. As they walked toward a small group of villagers, William noticed a boy holding a toy boat in his hands. The paint was chipped and the string was frayed. "Hello there," William said, kneeling down. "That's a brave little ship you've got." The boy, around 7 years old, nodded shyly. "It's the only thing that didn't float away." William smiled. "Then it must be very special." The boy looked up at him, eyes wide. "Are you really a prince?" William chuckled. "Well, yes. But today I'm just someone who wanted to come and say, we're thinking of you." Catherine, nearby, spoke with a group of mothers. One of them, Jenny, shared how the community center had helped her after her husband left. Her voice shook as she described the nights she cried in the kitchen, only to find comfort in the women's support group the next day. "It wasn't just a building," Jenny said. "It was the only place I felt strong." Catherine reached out, holding her hand. "And you are strong. I see it in you." The crowd grew slowly. More villagers came forward. Some shook hands. Others just watched. No one shouted. No one asked for photos. There was a quiet kind of respect in the air. William found himself walking slowly along the edge of the destroyed building, touched a scorched wooden beam and closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of his mother, Princess Diana, and how she had often walked into places like this, places filled with loss and made people feel seen. He had always admired that. Now, standing in Windmere, he felt the same pull, the same need to connect. "What are you thinking?" Catherine asked. "Joining him again?" "I'm thinking how much courage lives here," he replied, "and how much we still have to learn." Catherine nodded. She felt the same. She had come expecting to offer comfort, but she had found something more: a deep curiosity. Not just about the stories or the people, but about how life could continue. After such a loss, they walked back toward the main road, where the convoy waited. But before getting in the car, William turned back one last time. He looked at the people of Windmere, the broken walls, the muddy shoes, the tired smiles, and then he said, clearly and with warmth, "This won't be forgotten." "Not by us," Catherine added. "You've given us more than we could ever give you. Thank you for letting us be here." As the car pulled away, people waving not with excitement, but with gratitude, inside the vehicle, Catherine looked at William. "You felt that too, didn't you?" He nodded. "Yes, for a moment." Time stood still, or in that moment, asterisk, asterisk, a moment of mud, memory, and quiet strength, asterisk, asterisk. Their hearts had been held still with the people of Windmere. It was not a royal visit anymore. It was something human, something unforgettable.